Hello, and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. We are here to talk about the actual football game. No more predictions. We have actual games right in front of us, and we're here to talk about them. The Sooners are 1-0. Granted, not a good team, but I will say this. There were some impressive performances in this game that would have looked good against Air, and we're here to talk about it because while we can't, go here and act like this performance is proof that we're, the greatest college football team of all time and could beat, 1945 Army. There's still some good things to talk about. So, Jameson, I'll just you start here. What was the performance that you were most encouraged by in this win over Missouri State?
Well, you said we're not the greatest team of all time coming from this, but are we not the best defense in NCAA right now?
That's facts.
Haters will say we're wrong, but I mean, come on, look at it. We are fact. The best defense in NCAA. Write it down. Okay, so let's keep with defense for my one big takeaway of this game. We have to look at somebody that we thought, but we really need him to stand out, and it was Isaiah Thomas. It was no doubt in my mind. We came out only in a 2 defensive lineman set with 5 line. I think it was was it 4-2-5 or let me look it up. It was a 2-2-5 is what we started with, and that's huge, and especially whenever we're really shallow at the defensive line, and defensive end needed to come up big with Isaiah Thomas. Marcus Stripling's out, Ronnie Perkins out, and that dude was getting pressure even though it was against Missouri State offensive linemen. That was definitely a bright spot and someone we really needed, because if he didn't show up, that position is going to be really bad for time to come.
Absolutely. And, that 2 lineman set is something, you hardly ever see, reliably used in a college football game. Maybe they'll throw it in, as a wrinkle, but to regularly use that like that with success. Granted, I don't think you could pull that out against, let's just say, Texas and have sustained success. But, I mean, absolutely impressive work from those 2 guys who, we really need to step up, especially with how thin that position is. We talked about it last week ad nauseum. Ty, what did you see from the game that really, really encouraged you?
Yeah, so just kind of to echo Jameson's point, just on a broader aspect, it would also be the defense for me. I don't, the statistics are what they are. It was Missouri State. But one of the things that impressed me most is rewatching the game, just schematically how the defense was playing. So again, granted, it was Missouri State, but there were a lot of defensive plays where we had them beat just schematically. So not guys missing blocks that we were able to exploit, or our players just being faster and more powerful. There were so many plays over and over where we had guys at the right points, where even when they did everything right on their end, when Missouri State, the offense did everything right on its end, the defense was still right there with a guy in the backfield or right there to blow up the play. So that was impressive. There was a lot of dropped interceptions or potential interceptions that we could definitely refine on, but I think defensively was the big takeaway. And again, it is Missouri State, like I've said a few times, and I feel like we're going to say for the rest of the time. But to see that groundwork, or that foundation, or those bones, that scheme there, that's really good to see.
Absolutely. And it was a performance that was completely dominant start to finish. And, that's not always a given with these cupcake games with NOU. I believe we gave up some 13 points to South Dakota last year, which, things happen, but this was an absolute beatdown. Only 135 yards on Missouri State the entire game. And most of those, I feel like, came after, we, completely took the foot off the gas in the second half. The turnover battle, you all obviously would love to see some more forced ones. OU's only one was in the second half, just kind of a absolute duck thrown up to Turner Yell. But in general, it was just an absolute clinic of a defensive performance. Which, yeah, Missouri State's bad. They had one win last year. But
I will say that they probably could have scored on us. There were a few times where they definitely could have, or at least, converted to keep drives going. And it was just their incompetence that kept them from it, whether it be a drop pass here and there or just a terrible throw. There were some moments where either on conversions, who knows what was going to happen, or some other plays where things could have gone wrong and we didn't stop them. They stopped themselves. But I don't even think it would have affected the cover even.
Yeah. And, thankfully Mordecai came in and got us that cover towards the end with that last touchdown. It was getting a little close there. I'd also like to shout out, watch this on the video, and you can see Ty's dog for this. It's really
I've
been
wearing a comically small beret this entire time, and no one has said anything.
I've been so confused what it is. I have no idea. It looks like a beanbag on top of your head.
Yeah, it's comically small.
It looks like you had like some sort of really bad cornhole injury where the beanbag is now fused to your head.
It kind of looks like I'm wearing like I don't even know, like an ice pack on my head or something.
Yeah. We should have just had the
just got comically bonked with like a.
What we should have done is we need to get you a green screen, and then it could look like you're like in Paris or something. Put the Eiffel Tower behind you.
It's actually French. It's from the French. I don't know if you can see that. It doesn't matter. Anyways,
yeah, nice little. Hey, honestly, as far as Schooner Pod, dive, detours go, that wasn't too bad. So
I say we just do something so random, all of us, rather than just where we are or wear something and just see if anybody watches the YouTube.
That's
see
what
if we
I'm
get
trying to
any
do.
kind of response.
I'm
going to run out of jerseys to wear. I only have a few.
That's okay.
Yeah, Penny is all over she won't get out of my lap right now because I'm home alone, so she wants attention. Anyways, back to football.
Back to football. We are men. Okay, so obviously the defense, huge standout, but offensively, some really excellent performances in that first half. For me, we got to talk about Rattler. Obviously an impressive debut. He was making throws that, frankly, Jalen Hurts could never make. It was really impressive, really sharp. And honestly, like his stat line, as good as it was, it should have been better because there were, I believe, all three drops were not his fault. They were either, perfectly placed in the bucket and it just didn't go through, or there was, I believe, right before halftime, just an egregious pass interference that didn't get called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So really, I mean, honestly, as perfect of a night as you could get for Rattler, that if that was going on, in practice, I'd be like, this kid is good. Mm-hmm. So, James,
you saw a clear drop off when Tanny Mordecai came in. I don't care, even if he was thrown to lesser wide receivers, you could definitely see there was a clear difference.
He wasn't when he first came in. He wasn't.
Oh, you're right. He did play.
The only substitution was Rattler.
Yeah. And I mean, that was smart on Lincoln's end to kind of get it. And you could tell we only scored 7 points in the second half. And Mordecai threw an interception. The thing is, if it wasn't for a Stogner and Rambo drop, that's an extra 2 touchdowns for Rattler. And the thing is, you've got to talk about Marvin Mims. And I understand that we're going to kind of beat this into the ground. Like Marvin Mims, so many people saw it. The practice reports were saying that he was doing really well. We needed it, and we definitely got it. A guy that is a do it all you can. Like I said, it could be a Sterling Shepard-esque freshman season, even better for him this year.
And more than anything, we get to brush off, completely dust off one of our old favorite segments, Beamer Ball Watch, because he was incredible on the special teams. Absolutely electric every return. I know it's Missouri State. You got to add that caveat to everything. However, I mean, he was just we haven't had a burner like that since probably Jalen Saunders. And this kid could, I don't know, this kid could be just as good, if not better. Definitely a candidate for breakout wide receiver. I mean, the guy's just as good as honestly, I didn't think he'd be as good as we've been hyping him up because we've been hyping him up that much, but I was impressed. Tyler, Ty, what do you think? How did you think? How did you like Mimsy's debut for the Sooners?
Yeah, I mean, it was really impressive, and he definitely stepped up to the plate in terms of what you would expect from a freshman. I'm not, fully bought in just because, again, the Missouri State caveat. It is significantly easier for guys to look impressive when there's not a star defensive back that is able to cover them. So I don't fully expect his production to carry through conference play, but yeah, very, very impressive. And I don't think there's anything you could really criticize. I think my only comments there were just sort of, set realistic expectations.
For sure. And, all of the receivers looked pretty good. Rambo had his moments. Theo Howard has moments. Theo Weiss had an excellent catch. Very, very good showing. I like the running backs. McGowan was pretty fun. Missouri State, but, they took advantage of that. The O-line looked great. Stogner looked like he was as big as everyone talked about. Dude's huge. So there's definitely a lot to be happy about. But in general, OU took care of business. That's about all you can say. Any thoughts before we wrap up Missouri State?
Yeah,
I will say you can go first, Jameson.
Yeah. I just want to hop in on this. I don't think the O-line looked great at all. I think it was really sloppy, and you could tell that COVID hit us hard. We had to move Ely over to left tackle, and we put in Swinson, who should probably be the fourth string at right tackle. And it was absolute garbage tackle play. Ely should not be over at left. I understood that he would probably have a better NFL draft stock at left, but he's a right tackle kind of guy and needs to stay there. And we really missed a true freshman in Harrison, the kid from out east, true freshman. It would have been really, really nice to see him. But you got to realize we also had EJ Ndomo-Gar, Andrew Rame out, and Stacey Wilkins, who was our backup left tackle. We were scrambling, and I think that the bad offensive line play really kind of screwed over a guy like Marcus Major that Ty was big on. I was not happy with the way Marcus Major ran the ball because I feel like he didn't have those great holes that you see a lot from those first game from Oklahoma. But the thing is, Seth McGowan, that dude made his own plays, and he was running with a purpose, and he looked great out there. It was a clear gap in between him and Marcus Major when it came down to skill and the ability to run the ball.
Yeah, I also will say about McGowan, it always threw me off. It threw me off seeing him like a number one actually take the ball and run. I'm like, wait, why is Jalen in the backfield? What's Kyler doing out there? It was threw me off a little bit. I don't know. Wow. Ty, any final thoughts?
Yeah. So my final thoughts were on the running backs. I was really high on Marcus Major in our last podcast and thinking he would step up. He was questionable for the game, so I will, not to make excuses or anything for him, but he, was not 100%. If he's, questionable on game day, whether or not he's going to play, but. I think out of everyone that we saw, Seth McGowan, again, super impressive performance, and not to demean him in any way, but he's, both our running backs that played are the bottom of the depth chart on our running backs. So major props to them for playing as well as they did, because they're guys that, this summer we weren't, outside of Ramondre, we weren't expecting to really get a ton of play or expecting a ton out of, and now they're the number one, number two guys in the backfield. So super impressive, regardless of who we're playing, to see those guys step up, because it's one thing to see it from Rattler. He was stupid highly rated as a quarterback. Creed Humphrey could have had a crazy NFL draft last year and chose to return. Like, you expect really good performances from these guys. So I was really impressed by the running backs because we were really iffy on that, and I think a lot of people were. And it was Missouri State, but awesome to see.
Especially as McGowan was kind of a joke for us last week, because
he still is.
He was last on the depth chart behind.
He stepped up.
That guy's good. He cuts sharp. The way he runs is just very physical, very downfield. I liked it.
Maybe Kirk Herbstreit will get his name right next week.
Yeah, I think Seth McGowan's going to be our leading rusher for the season.
Yeah.
You can tell that's definitely he just read the box chart or box score and like, yeah, this McGowan kid.
Or somebody said it in his earpiece, probably.
That totally was just like siphoned information. You just never heard of them before and just completely.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know all the depth charts of all the people.
Yeah.
They have, people sitting in the back saying stuff with their earpiece.
Man, speaking of announcers, I feel so bad for the people who paid $60 to hear that announcer just yell full send like the entire game. It was just brutal. That broadcast team was brutal. I'm sure they're nice people, but could you get any more hello, fellow children than just yelling full send anytime a touchdown happened?
It was totally bad, and they mispronounced people's names. They called the kicker Gabe Burkich for probably 3 kicks. It was miserable. It was like Gabe Burkich out to kick, and I'm like, no. Legitimately, until he started to kick Johnson. I think Johnson was last name Paul. No idea. Was it Steven Johnson? Let's just throw it out there.
It is Steven Johnson.
Yeah.
You did it.
Until he kicked the field goal, they were just like Gabe Burkich to kick the field goal, and he goes, "Wait, no, it's not." And then he pauses for 10 seconds, and I'm like, "Oh no."
We need a banner that just says we got the name right whenever it happens.
I am 1 for 1 on not knowing the name, throwing out a random for the season. That is much better than last couple seasons.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hey, it's our preseason. We're hitting it. We're hitting it hard. We're on our stride. I love it. This is less of a football kind of topic, but what was it like? Because we were all there. What was y'all's experience in the post-COVID stadium era with 25%?
Oh, boy.
I know
I have some takes on this. So I want to go.
Jameson and I were in the stadium proper. Ty was one of the hooligans in the student section. So
Technically, I wasn't because we refused to move.
Okay.
I'll just jump into my takes.
Yeah, Jameson. Ty, go.
First thing, masks were required. Of course, the OU Daily came out showing a picture of the student section and roasting the students for not doing it. The participation in the mask mandate was pretty equal across the stadium from what I saw at 50-50, with most people just immediately ripping them off and nobody at all cared to enforce it whatsoever. Big criticisms at OU. No one ever told the students anything about any distancing. There was no emails, no notifications whatsoever to the students about anything other than how to claim your ticket, which resulted in the students coming and sitting in what is normally the student section. And all the seats had little stickers on them where you could and couldn't sit. Those were broadly ignored because, of course, they are. But people were distancing to some extent. And we ran into a problem about partway through the first quarter when it became very apparent that the student section was not the student section, and those seats had been sold. And there were a lot of very angry old people upset that there were students all over their section. Myself and Katie included, because this old person came up to us and told us that he had our seat, and I told him, but this is the student section. And that was shortly before security arrived and moved most people. Some people, particularly of a certain Greek house, required OUPD to show up to move them, which is very on brand.
Am I being detained?
Yeah. And it was an absolute, there was a lot of criticisms on the social distancing and everything else. But from what I saw, it looked to me like OU took the student section that normally seats 8,000 people. They sold about 2,500 tickets, or they let about 2,500 students in. And the area that they had allocated for students to sit that wasn't sold to people and distance out sat maybe about 3,000 people. So it was almost like by design, there was no social distancing whatsoever. So if you look at the student section or the student section area post the first quarter, I think it was in the first quarter when they to the big moving everyone over. There's just the whole section looks like a normal game, and it's just completely cramped because there was no like they sold it was absolutely dropped the ball by OU in almost every way, but very entertaining, and I think that's probably as much detail as we can get into on the podcast and on video before we start bleeping stuff.
That's fair. Jameson, I had a delightful time in the adult section. It was pretty spaced out. The only thing I noticed was, maybe a couple times you could see people would just kind of wander around, and that wasn't being policed. But for the most part, everyone, did their part.
Yeah, there was zero policing on anything going on, and like you said, very little mask. I mean, for the common beer drinker is always sipping on the beer continuously and continuously going back for refills. I mean, yeah, the mask on, mask off is going to be a little bit annoying. So I see the delinquents of OU having a problem with that. I mean, like you said, it's like, honestly, it makes some of those anti-maskers want to keep on buying beers, and the anti-maskers, whenever they get beered up a little bit, oh my goodness gracious, things are going to get bad. Unite Norman's going to get full.
No. Not Unite Norman. Do not sponsor the pod. Although I'm not below.
We're getting too political here. So moving on from that, but all in all, I sat in the close to the parents, a lot of the parents of the players, and there's a lot of them there, and they all look really happy. And you can tell a lot of them traveled. It was really cool to see like Woody Washington's parents with the jerseys with number 0 on the back. I thought that was really cool. All in all, it was a really, really great experience. I never had any encounters with large crowds. I felt like very, very empty in the stadium from where I was, and everyone was very well distanced. And it was good preparing beforehand in the non-student section, and there was no enforcement going around at all because they realized it would just probably cause more problems than create.
I will say it was tremendous to arrive 20 to 30 minutes before kick at an OU home game, park on Boyd, walk over without really any crowds, walk right through security and walk right up to seats and never really be in a crowd. It was also really, really weird. And I will say that the atmosphere inside the stadium just wasn't the same. It was pretty depressing. I will say it was a completely different energy, even in the student section where people were clumped up and pretty well hydrated and excited. It was just the energy wasn't there that you would expect. It was awesome, but it was kind of depressing at the same time. You can't replicate 85,000 plus people.
And I thought the saddest for me, like probably one of the saddest things was how because they obviously didn't have enough people to do the full band, they just showed a video of the an old pregame on screen, and that I think felt just very, very weird. And I know I'm probably the only band guy here in terms of people band appreciator.
I agree. So first off, they had a band there, or a portion of it, that was loud enough to be heard throughout the stadium. So I don't understand why they couldn't have just performed from their seats and had everyone direct their attention over there. And then also they didn't perform because they said they couldn't socially distance properly. And then they proceeded to show a video of them that they recorded the day before performing like in masks and stuff. So I don't understand how they were safe doing it like on Friday at the same distancing that they could have just done it they were on the practice field doing it. I don't understand how it magically becomes unsafe while they were doing it then. But yeah, the band thing was really weird.
It was trippy for sure, but definitely an emotional day.
Different times. There was the pregame one that was literally just a clip from last year, and then the halftime show was recorded on Friday. Yeah,
and it was definitely it was a very emotional day. Obviously a lot of dark times in the country and the world. It was good to get back to football, but it was also like unavoidable what was going on. But more than anything, it was just good to be back to football.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend it if you're not going to the student section. For the most part, it gets done. I think it'll be even better next time. Overall enjoyable experience, never line, ample beer whenever you wanted it. I got this hat. It was good stuff.
They ran out of Michelob Ultra at my beer stand, though. I think that's something they need to fix.
That's a crime. You need those like $9 Michelob aluminums. That's the official beer of.
Are they 9? I thought there were 6.
It was
probably
8.
7.
It was 8.
8 sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's all we have to say for this. But
did anyone try to order ahead concessions?
No. Why would you even need to do that? I think.
Well, yeah, you didn't need to. I think that was it. We didn't try it either. So.
And the Wi-Fi, without a doubt, would have gone wrong.
The Wi-Fi was super fast, probably because there was only like 20-something thousand people there.
That's true.
I thought.
That's true.
Or I may have been in my school Wi-Fi. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Jameson, do we any Cruton news going on, or do we need to?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This is just such a dry period of recruiting. I wish I had something to say, but it's pretty stand pat.
Ah, man, I kind of want to play the video.
Let's play it.
We're gonna play it anyways.
David.
Yes?
What is this, David?
This is a
Cruton Corner with Jamison.
Everybody dancing now.
Oh, that's nice.
That is nice.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm bringing you with some high-tech info. I was reading deep into the message boards of the Football Brainiacs, and there is one Gooner on the board that believes he has some insight into Tristan Lee's mother likes Norman better than Baton Rouge. That is James' Cruton Corner info for the day.
The Cruton Corner.
Have you ever been to Baton Rouge?
I drove through one.
I have. I stopped and ate there, but that doesn't count. I've driven by it many a times,
You wouldn't like it either.
I actually haven't visited.
Yeah, you wouldn't like it either.
we stopped on our way to the Orange Bowl a couple years ago, and saw the tiger and everything, and it was fine. It was a good time.
That might be where the keys are. Did you guys look there?
The keys?
The car keys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Michael Grimes' keys. We heard it. So let's get on to our scheduled program. And we never did a Big 12 preview. So here it is. Big 12 preview. Holy mackerel. That was garbage. What the hell was that, Big 12? I'm just going to say it.
You went with holy mackerel?
I don't know how.
We just came off a break. You had time to think of what you were going to say. That's what you went with it.
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how clean I want this thing to be. But holy shit, Big 12. That was garbage. So OU and Texas, as per usual, are the only ones carrying the day. Obviously, OSU, TCU, and Baylor are exempt for the moment as they didn't have a chance to play. But my God, I expected this out of Kansas. But you, Iowa State, you, Kansas State, you can't handle your Sun Belt conference teams. I think we should just remove those two teams and replace them with Arkansas State and Louisiana. I think we'd have a better run going forward. So I don't think we'll do a full preview because you stupid conference.
They don't deserve it.
This stupid conference doesn't deserve it. They're bad. OU's good. OU 1, Texas 2, or maybe 3. That's my preview for you. Jameson, what are your thoughts on that disastrous day yesterday?
Honestly, even though, here's the deal. Arkansas State and Louisiana are pretty decent teams. They're both teams. The Texas Tech was probably the ugliest for me versus Houston Baptist. That was bad. They only won by 2 and had to, barely come out with it. That was absolutely embarrassing. West Virginia had 11 players suspended and blew out their whoever opponent was. At least they showed up. Give it to West Virginia. But Texas Tech, by far, even though they won, was the most embarrassing in my eyes.
Yeah, Houston Baptist that's low right there. Favored by 33 points, and they can't even pull out 3. Ty, your thoughts on?
Yeah, so I just want to say, in regards to the Texas Tech thing, you could say it's probably the worst performance, but at the end of the day, 2 or 3 years from now, no one's going to remember, Texas Tech barely beat Houston Baptist, because at the end of the day, it's a W. At the end of the day, it's on the left side of that win-loss. But these other teams, that's something that doesn't go away. Like when Oklahoma State lost to Central Michigan and then tried to deny it and lie about it, or like when Kansas beat Texas and just things like that. It's just, yeah, it's unexcusable. Kansas, yeah, we should have known it was coming. I guess it's not clear because it's definitely not clear to Blake, but I'm not being serious when I say lock of the century. Like if I'm being serious about that, I wouldn't say it every week. Like I think Blake is convinced that I'm fully bought in on these. Like I'm almost indicating which is the least likely to cover that I'm still picking and doing that. And, same thing for K-State. Maybe we should have seen this coming. People were definitely correct about Les Miles. And he definitely should have stuck with the Dr. Pepper commercials because he's not getting any commercial deals after this. But yeah, I think Iowa State was probably absolutely the most disappointing. We've been really, really high in Iowa State here because the turnaround that their coach has had, and how now he's tarnishing his exit options as well. And Brock Purdy is ass.
Ty, like a year ago, you referred
He's
to
a
him
coward.
He's a coward. Exactly.
He is a coward, but we thought he was doing some good things, and now he doesn't even have the balls to win.
He's back on the coward couch. We're moving.
No, he never left. He never left the coward couch. He's been sitting on it the whole time. He just discovered that it's one of those that turns into a day bet. And now he's just fully laid out like Anne Hathaway or whoever it is in Titanic.
Oh my goodness.
Anne Hathaway in Titanic?
Got Leonardo DiCaprio painting her.
Paint me like one of your French girls.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Anyways, bad times, but I don't know. All I know is
Anne Hathaway's not in Titanic.
No, she would have been like 10.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely not who's in that scene.
No.
I think it's like Nicole Kidman or Beyonce or somebody.
No.
We're not an actor pod. We're only a last name pod when it comes down to football players. But actors and actresses, ooh, no.
And
We can't even get our primary focus. We can't even get those names right. So don't expect anything else from us.
Are we the Kansas football of OU football podcast? We might be. Entertaining, but
someone must have had us as the lock of the century. Great time podcast week 1, and I would take that any day.
Lock of the century for best podcast. I love it.